Why did the chicken cross the road? A question as old as the mind itself. Today, we seek to understand the motivations behind the domesticated avian's exodus through the principles of behavioral biology. Let's start at the beginning, with the evolutionary basis of the trait. For evolution to have contributed to our fine fowl's crossing of the street, three conditions must be met. 1. The trait must be heritable, meaning it has some genetic expression. 2. It must be adaptive, meaning there was some benefit to the trait in a past situation. 3. It must have gradually developed through many generations of road-crossing chickens. But what if it wasn't? Maybe the road crossing isn't genetic at all. There could be some other trait, like a predisposition toward falling forwards, which draws roadside chickens out into traffic. One such situation in actual chickens is the inheritance of the position in the pecking order. Chickens inherit their rank through the passing on of a gene for shiny feathers, with shiny feathers denoting high-ranking chickens. Perhaps the collective chicken hasn't been gradually honing its road-crossing abilities, but instead has been improving through a punctuated equilibrium of negative mutations eventually thrust into the street by bottlenecks such as a predator that couldn't touch pavement. Maybe the trait was Lamarckian, brought about not genetically, but by some offshoot of fetal environment. The chicken's transcription factors might be to blame. These proteins bind to certain sequences of DNA before genes, thus activating that gene's expression. A single mutation in a transcription factor can have drastic effects, as entire networks of gene expression are completely reworked. There may be an epigenetic cause, such as physical barriers forming around genes that would normally inhibit road crossing and therefore preventing their expression. I would be remiss not to bring up the neurology and endocrinology of the chicken. If the chicken were analogous to a human, perhaps the hormones and enzymes from the hypothalamus or some other chemical releasing gland would be triggered thanks to a perceived stimulus, sending signals through the appropriate neuron pathways, perhaps from the eyes to the occipital lobe, and then to the hippocampus, driving an action sequence perfected by the chicken's ancestors. Neurons each pass on electrochemical signals through the synapses, which are these gaps between neurons, through the use of neurotransmitters, which are released from the terminal end of a neuron and travel to the receiving end of the next neuron. Webs of neurotransmitters are released from neuron to neuron, influenced by transmitter regulator receptors and hormones present in the brain at the time of the chicken crossing the road. In conclusion, you need a bit more context from where the chicken is and how the chicken is to what the chicken's history of road crossing reveals. In short, why did the chicken cross the road? Neurons firing in response to the stimulus of the road and its surroundings, in the context of hormones present in the chicken's bloodstream, formed by some sort of inherited gene selected by thousands of years of road-crossing chickens reproducing or Lamarckian traits, necessitated the chickens getting to the other side.